Sucker.
Alright, welcome on back, faithful. This is tutorial number 1 of the Halo 4 Spartan Mark 6 armor build. And the first piece we're going to start with today is going to be the bicep. Alright, I've got one done here, so you can see what we're going to be going for. That's the look that we're going to go and try and get with the, the sister bicep, or the left if it's a right, if it's a right it's a left, or if it's a left it's a right, whatever. Anyway, this is, like I said, this is the finished one, so we're going to be getting this same exact look. Now, what I'm working with right now is I'm working with essentially, it's Pepakura, but this is the foam version. Now, for any of you who have worked with Pepakura in the past, you'll know that it is a time-consuming and arduous task. All the cutting, the folding, the gluing, and then the resining, the fiberglassing, if you do that, if you use smooth on, the painting it in there, the slush casting, the Bondo to fill in the caved in areas. That first blue suit that I did was all Pepakura. Took me, I don't know how many countless hours cutting, folding, and gluing. Now, there are a few people on 405th who have taken those Pepakura files and they have converted them into what they call foam PDO files, where they've taken the little tabs that would be on the sides of a regular Pepakura cutout piece, lopped them off, so you're just left with the actual shape of one piece of the armor. Those are then taken and traced onto EVA foam directly. Those shapes are then cut out, and then you're going to have to at least have some kind of reference material to look at. Unless you go inside there and actually click on your Pepakura viewer, click on each individual piece, and what I do is I'll take the numbers and I'll mark off which number connects to which piece. That way I know it's my mental map, and I may even write them on the EVA foam as well. But it will take some finessing to get the pieces exactly the way you want them to be. So like I said, you'll want some reference material to look at, which you can find plenty of photos of the Chief online, so you know how each piece is supposed to go. And now it's not going to have every single little detail. Like I added some details inside here that I saw inside photos that weren't inside the actual foam files. But if you go on to 405th.com, go to the armory, you can find all the files that you'll need, either Pepakura or the Pepakura foam files. So, without further ado, we're going to go into just a brief rundown of sizing, okay? All of what I'm going to build here is based off just my body, okay? I have a 42-inch chest, I've got 15.5-inch arms. My legs, I can't even tell you. My waist is 33. So I'm going to tell you what sizes I use. So if you're anywhere close to my size, they will work for you. You may have a little bit of wiggle room, but that's where you got extra foam. So you can pad it so it fits properly. Okay, now this bicep that I did, this from the bicep foam PDO that I found on 405th for the Mark 6 Halo 4 version of the armor. I scaled up by 10%, and this fits me perfectly. So 10%, that's perfect for me. If you're a little bit smaller, if you're 5'8", I would leave it as is. Okay, if you're smaller than, I'm going to say if you're smaller than 5'5", shrink it by 10%. Now, does that mean that you're going to get halfway through the build before you realize that you've messed up? No, it does not. You do not have to get that far before you realize that you screwed up. What I would do is print off the piece that you know is going to be the longest section you're working with, like if it was your shin. Print off just the front few pieces. If you open it up inside Pepakura Designer, you can place the pieces around. Print off just the front pieces and tape them together if you have to. Find out how big it is on your shin, or like this is the bicep here. I held it up to my arm to see, okay, I've got a little bit in front, a little bit in back that I'm going to be fine with, plus I knew I was going to have a rounded off piece in the front here. I knew I'd have plenty of room. So again, this particular file, I scaled up by 10%. My arms are 15.5, chest is 42. The majority of the pieces I've scaled up by 10%. Okay. So, I am using EVA foam, which is my favorite thing in the world to build armor with since having discovered it. Right now I'm using hex pattern EVA foam. I prefer the carbon fiber, but I got a great deal on this. I got twice the amount of EVA foam for half the price, so that was pretty awesome. And this is actually thinner than what I typically use, so it's way more malleable. But I've drawn a few of my pieces onto here already. I've just traced them on there, if you can see in the upper little area there. I'm not going to do a time lapse on this, okay? Because I want you to see in real time what kind of time frame you're looking at to build this. I'm not going to build the whole thing. I'm going to build part of it, show you again how the finished product is going to look. So, grab my box cutter. Make sure you get sharp blades, and try, if you can, do a straight cut through on the first pull. You don't want to have to keep going back through and hitting the same area because you'll chatter up that edge and you're not going to want that. So do your best to make solid cut throughs on every pull. So, see we're going to start. I'll just take my little piece here, throw it right on, butt them up as close as you can to the other pieces that you're arranging. Try and maximize your space, that way you're not wasting EVA foam, and just lightly trace it on there. The majority of the pieces that you build, like the calf pieces, the bicep pieces, and the shoe pieces, oftentimes they will look identical. They'll be very symmetrical, so they'll be really identical on either side. So when you're cutting out all these little pieces, oftentimes you'll just take, like this piece here, it's the same front as it is back. So I would just take this piece, flip it over, and trace it, or just move it over, trace it again. You figure you're going to have a mirror of each side. Okay, so there, that's traced on there. And my little template piece out of the way. These are a few of the other template pieces that you can look at. Some of them get really thin, so just be wary of that, and also make sure you're printing on cardstock, because it's way easier to trace off of cardstock than regular paper. You can even glue this onto a piece of cardboard if you want your template to stay longer. It's up to you. Okay, so we'll just do a few of these here. Again, cut through first time. Make sure you're on a cutting mat so you can really put some pressure down inside there. If you make that cut through, hit the first time, you're not going to have to worry about a gnarled up edge, and it's going to look really, really pristine. You won't have to go through with a Dremel and save all your edges again, because they'll look perfect already. Okay. And when you're cutting, try and cut into the foam where it's already attached. Like if I was going to try and cut from here, it's going to crimp that foam in. So I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut from the inside out, because it's already got resistance built there for me. Makes it really easy to slice through. And please, guys, watch your fingers. I know I make this look easy because I've been doing it for so long, but it is really easy to slip, especially with EVA foam, and it is really easy to stab one of these blades right into your fingers. So please do yourself a favor and pay attention. If you can avoid it, don't drink while you're building cosplay. You know who you are. You start off at the beginning of the night with the best of intentions. You get like the first two pieces on thinking, oh, this is phenomenal. 6 beers in later, you look like you just had a seizure while playing with finger paint. Okay. So now I'm going to do the recessed area here. If you can see on the edge here, I've got a recessed middle there. Now all it takes is me just cutting that piece out, moving it back inside there just slightly, and then gluing it in place. Now I'm going to be using Loctite Glue to attach all my pieces, because Loctite works phenomenally well with EVA foam. It dries way faster than hot glue, dries way faster than contact cement. However, I am going to go back through on the inside of these seams, and if you can see here, let me get you a better angle. On the inside of those seams, you can see I've got hot glue reinforcing the back of them. The super glue itself is just so I have really pristine lines all around it. All the seams look really gorgeous. That hot glue, though, reinforces the back and makes sure that none of these pop on me. Plus, once you've got Plasti Dip 2 to 3 layers on here, you won't have to worry about it anymore. I digress. Hot glue, because I love it. Okay. And you'll want to have several different size blades on you. I like having these small ones for some of these littler pieces, just because I feel like I get more control with some of the smaller blades. I like the X-Acto blades for more rounded areas. If you're doing a cut through like I'm about to do, I'm going to do a rounded cut through here. The X-Acto blade is a whole lot better for that because it's just so much more precise. These blades are incredibly sharp. They're sharper than box cutter blades because they are wafer thin, so please, again, be careful. And I almost kind of saw through really gently at first. And if it is a cut through like this, I'm not really too concerned with the back because no one's going to see the back and no one's going to know what it looks like except for me. So I'll make about 2 passes through there, make sure I've got it, and then I'll just take my thumb, pop it through. Real easy. Break it right free. So we'll do the same on the other side. Again, this little piece here, this little curved area. Alright. Pop right through, just like that. So now we got our little, I guess, a little window now for a bicep. Now, the bicep here is going to be curved, okay? You want a slight curve to it. It doesn't need to be crazy curved because if you need more of a curve to it, you can always glue an additional piece of EVA foam on the side here so that when it rests up against your bicep, it bows out like that. Totally up to you, but you want a little bit of a curve. So because I know that it's going to be curved, I'm going to cut a little bit off the end of this piece here. Just a tiny bit, maybe about 3/8 of an inch, because I know that when that curve is inside there, it's not going to have as much room inside here anymore because it will be pinched in on itself. So for that, I'll take the X-Acto blade and I'll do a few cuts on the top in kind of like the same little rounded nub there, because it is a rounded end. If it's a square end, it doesn't really matter. I'll round it through a little bit and then cut off right about that much. Oops. Just a little piece. Again, this is for the Mark 6 bicep from Halo 4. Okay, here we go. Handy dandy heat gun. Doesn't take a whole lot. Just light this baby up. I have my cutting mat here on top of wood. That way I can slide it real quick, throw some heat on it. A lot of people don't know how long to hold the heat on there. I go till I can smell it. Now maybe that's good or bad, I don't know. But when you're bending it here, bend it farther than you think you're going to need, because it's going to try and force its way back out. So I know I don't need that kind of a bend on it, but by the time I get that little piece glued back inside there, it's going to be right where I want it. And you don't got to hold it too long. You can start to let up a little bit, see where it's going to rest. One of the cool things about EVA foam that I really love is it's super impact resistant. So if you're getting jostled around at a con, you're going to have to do way less damage repairs to it when you get back to your room than you would if you were using a resin suit. Like my blue Spartan armor, I make a repair to that after every single con that I go to. Anytime I wear it, I've got a little piece of paint that chips off, a little piece of plastic that's got to be glued back into place. So there we go. There's our curve. Now it's going to stay just like that. It's not going to open up any more than that because we've rearranged the molecular structure on the surface there and inside the middle of it just enough so it's not holding its shape. I use that technique for stuff like this. This is Mega Man's Gaia armor from Mega Man X6. My own version because I put studs on it. Yeah. A lot of that, all this was heat treated, bending these pieces into shape there. That way they're not trying to pop and bust those seams out. But we'll get to more of that later on down the road. So, little piece here that we're going to put right back inside this window. It's not really super imperative that you've got to remember exactly which way it went in unless you draw, like one side is clearly thinner than the other. But I get it right to where I want it. So I know that I'm going to want it to stick through the back the most. I want it about halfway through this entire piece. So I'll eyeball it because this is a bicep and it's going to be under the shoulder, so you're not going to see it too prevalently unless somebody's getting right up on you checking it out. But then I'll go inside here and I'll take my Loctite super glue and I'll run a little bit along the back of it here. So little dabs right there. I have my little smoother piece of foam that I love to use to smoothen the rest of that glue and brush it into the porous surface of the EVA foam itself. And that saves me the hassle of using a finger, getting this stuff all over my hand and having to spend the next 72 hours ripping hunks of my skin off while I'm at work. Okay, so do the same thing on the top here. If you're going to buy Loctite super glue, buy 5 second. Don't buy the gel, buy the liquid. 5 second. Dries in 5 seconds. And it is so easy to work with, Saves you so much time. When I built the last suit of Spartan armor, the red one, that took me 11 days to do. The time put into there was probably about 24 to 28 hours solid. Half of that time was literally spent with the hot glue gun, gluing these seams and holding pieces together like this, going, trying to cool that glue down. However, I will go and I will take hot glue, and for little divots inside the top, you see where it doesn't connect quite all the way? That's where I'll take my hot glue, and I will just fill in that seam just a little bit, use the iron part of the glue gun itself to smooth that glue right into that little crack there. That way when you're painting it, you don't have all these weird little holes that are glaring back at you. So I'll do that on both ends. Smooth it right on in there. Boom. And there we go, there's the first piece there. Now what I may end up doing as well is, because I want all these seams to be super, super secure, I may take a little bit more of the super glue and just bead a little bit right on the inside of it, take a little foamy here, smooth it right down inside that groove. And because the surface of this is so porous, it sucks it right on up, so you're not going to worry about any kind of weird overage all over it that's going to make your paint look gnarly. Takes but a second. But these little things, they make all the difference. And I know, and this is me not bashing on anybody, but you know when you've seen a really good suit of armor and you can tell someone took the extra time to do the details that they knew were going to make the biggest difference over somebody who just rush jobbed it and slapped it together. Now sometimes it does hinge on someone's personal skill, but that's why we practice, and that's why we do it right the first time. Okay, so side panel for one bicep already done. Now, if I was doing this thing as full time, I'll be going back on inside here and reinforcing the inside of it now with the hot glue. Use a low heat gun, that way you're not worrying about a hot heat gun, because there is high heat and low heat. If you're using high heat, you're gonna have to worry about this glue staying running a whole lot longer. Use a low heat gun, saves you a whole lot of time. And because this is the back of it, just gob it on. Really fill in those little trenches there, because that will give it so much more strength, and because nobody's going to see the inside of it. Only you know it's there, so it does not matter what the inside looks like. Unless you're that OCD. I know there are some of us out there. But there we go. Boom. So there we go. First panel, totally done. Okay. So that's how I would do, like I said, that first little section of it. Let's move on real quick here. I'm not going to talk too much over this one because I just want to show you how this piece goes. We're going to do the very front part of the bicep right here. Okay, if you can see that right there, little piece there. This one's going to go a whole lot quicker, and the reason I want to do it is because it's got very small recessed cuts inside of it. Show you how I would do those. They're real simple to do, but they're also real easy to screw up. I know I said it in the last video, and I may have already said it in this video, but if I did, forgive me. I'm going to be at a KaiCon this August in the Nashville area. It's an anime convention. I will be there doing a armor and prop making tutorial panel. We'll also be doing giveaways and such. So if you live inside the Nashville area and would like to come on out and learn how to make realistic looking video game and movies, armor and weapons, swing on out to a KaiCon this August. That's AKAI Con. You can find their website online. They always have a phenomenal lineup. This year, J. Michael Tatum is going to be there. One of my friends, Eric Stewart, voice Seto Kaiba in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series is going to be there. A lot of phenomenal voice talent, as well as phenomenal cosplayers. Phil Mizuno is going to be there, hopefully returning as Koga, because he looks phenomenal. And that character from Inuyasha. I'll be there as well as a couple more guest cosplayers. And they have a ton of stuff to do there. So if you don't come out for the armor panel, they have panels going all hours of the night. And there is always something fun just around the corner. They have a great, a great, I guess, swag room or dealer's room, if you will, as well. We can find awesome figurines and posters and box sets and swords and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So please check it out. If you live in Nashville, or even if you don't, if you live out there in Atlanta, it's a great con to come on up to. And this is year 4 of it, going to be the biggest year yet. Okay, so for these little front pieces here, I'm using an X-Acto blade to cut through these. Now, more or less what I'm doing is I'm taking the blade and I'm pushing it clear through the material. So I'm taking the very top part of the blade, putting it into the corner, right where I want it, right here, and I'm pushing it clear through. Because I know that by the time that blade gets to the bottom, I've got just enough space that's going to clear out that little line that I drew there. So I'll see if I can hold it here so you can see it. So right through in the top, going right on in. You can kind of saw it a little bit. Right to the edge. Real easy to cut through on these here. And then for the end pieces of it, the X-Acto blade is just the perfect size. Poke right on in through here again. You probably see the blade coming through the back there. Now these are going to be slightly recessed pieces here. So got those all cut through here. And then you just poke them through. So you can kind of see them on the back there, trying to come through. Poke them through, pull them out. When you pull them out, cut them in half real quick. So take it, hold it sideways, chop it in half. Then stick it right back on in to the hole that you just popped it out of. You see it's already taking shape there? So we'll pop the next one out. Boom. Real easy. Yank it straight out. Booyah. There we go. You'll do that for all 4 of the pieces. So pop them all out. Cut them in half. Stick them right on back in. Now for any of you who've been requesting a bicep tutorial for the longest time, I know I've been promising it, and I'm sorry that it took me so long to get this video up. This one is for you, and again, my apologies on the length of time that it took me. I did not know weddings were going to be so intense to plan. Okay, a little bit of super glue, I'm just going to put on the back here. Little dabs, little dabs. Just make sure that I'm covering the seams. Take my little piece here to smooth out the rest, just kind of take the excess off it. And I get it off pretty quickly on this one here, just because I'm going to be putting heat on it. But even now, I'll still let it sit and dry just for a little bit because I don't want to be putting heat on it while that super glue is still liquid, because that is zero fun for anybody. There we go. There we go. Also, an X-Acto blade like I've got right now is super, super handy for adding in last minute little details that you missed. Or if you cut one hole a little bigger than the others, real easy to fix it real quickly. Boom. Little spot of glue takes care of that. Alright. The back is just about dry. So there it is right there. But if you notice here on this piece, it is slightly curved. Now, it's not a huge crazy curve, but it's just enough that we're going to want to throw some heat on here. Inside the next tutorial video that I do, where it's just EVA foam techniques, I'm going to show you how to do back cuts on your pieces so you don't always have to use heat. So I'll toss it down here on the wood. And again, I'll heat this up till I can smell it. So usually it's about 10 seconds. I got about 1.5 inches away from the piece. And you can see the texture start to change on it. Especially for heating the back side of it, you can see it almost change color or change look. Now it's going to be real good and hot. So, come inside here. I know the curve that I want. Now, you may want to wear gloves to do this. I don't have a whole lot of, sorry, not that I don't have, but I have a lot of tolerance for heat because I worked changing oil for a while. I'm used to those hot oil pans. But you're just going to massage it into place here. So you see what I'm doing right here? I'm putting my thumbs behind it, right here, and I'm pulling down with my other fingers because I want that curve. Okay? Pulling down a little bit here, and again, pushing in. I'm pulling it down further than I want it to be because I know that when I put the other pieces there, it's going to flex it out just enough that it'll sit right where I want it to. So you see we got it right there. Tucking that baby right on in. And there we go. Nice and curved. Beautiful little piece there. Okay. So we'll take this now, and we're going to start attaching these pieces to their respective little spots. Now what I like to do when I'm making armor is I will go through and I will mark on my pieces the numbers where they go. For this one I'm not going to, because I've already built my first one, so by looking at this one I know where a piece is supposed to go. But here we go. Okay. So I have all my other pieces cut out here. I'm going to take this cutting mat out of this way here. So I have a full wood table to work with. And you can see just the scope of this thing. So, as I said, most of the pieces are going to have two of the exact same pieces. So we'll stack them on out here. And I am using foam of varying thicknesses to work with here. So like I've got several different thicknesses. I've got like 1/8 inch. I've got 3/16. I've got not quite 1/4 inch. I've got 1/16 of an inch pieces here. Those varying degrees of thickness of foam really add so much for depth and detail. Okay, so you see right here, a lot of pieces that I have, they kind of extrude off each other because I love that little extra bit of detail. Now you can butt them right up against each other. Like I don't have to have that bicep front part there sticking off 1/8 inch. I could have married that right up to the edge here, but I feel like doing this that way adds just more character to it, and it's going to give really awesome shadows when you paint it, especially when you do your black wash on there. So we'll start off with the bicep piece first. Now I've marked like which side is top, so I know which one is going up, and we're going to stick that onto the front part of this bicep, which is going to get heated up and bent around. Now I'm just going to do one full side because it's identical on the other side, so you'll just know how it's all going together. And please be careful with your heat gun. This thing gets very, very, very hot very quickly. And if you are on carpet, number one, don't cosplay this kind of material on carpet. But if you are on carpet, do not ever set this down on carpet. Over here, I've got a piece of wood that I'm setting this thing down on top because I know it's not going to burn through that wood. And even then, I'm not letting that metal barrel touch. So I've heated this up here, and I'm going to bend it really far in. You see it right there? I'm bending it way more than it needs to, because I know that it's going to want to try and open up a little bit. And in bending it this far, it allows the piece to have, like, I guess, a little bit of kinetic energy behind it, where it's being flexed out just slightly. So it helps when you're attaching the front piece and the side pieces to it, because it's got the push already there. And it helps the entire piece take shape. It's weird to even try and describe it, but when you start doing this for the first time, you'll get about 2 pieces in, and you'll realize, oh shoot, I've been working way harder than I needed to. So hold that there. It doesn't take long. So, boom. Perfect. That's just the kind of curve that I want on there. So, there's my inside here. Now, you see on this one here, I offset where those 2 pieces connect. You see that? Just a little bit. By about 1/8 of an inch. All I need, a little bit of my Loctite super glue. Love my Loctite super glue. So I'm just going to run on the bottom half of this piece here. So, boom, 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 boom. Just dab it in there. This connects, you can see they're the same exact height, those 2 pieces there. And I merge it right in. Blammo. And this stuff dries real quickly. So make sure you've got it right where you want it right off the bat. So I've got it connected. That's already sealed. Run this along the edge there, make that connection more final. Boom. There it is. Now I'll usually do like 1, 2, 3 dots, go back through with my little smoother, shove it, all that glue down inside that little groove right inside there, so that seam is totally sealed. So that when I'm painting, I'm not going to have a bunch of little holes staring back at me. Now I'm not going to do all the hot glue on this, but typically what I would do is I would build this entire little front section first there. Then I would go back through and I would reinforce all the inside part of it there with hot glue before attaching it to the side pieces here. But for time's sake, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait to hot glue it to the very end. Okay, so here's my little rounded piece here. You can see right where it's going to go. Going to fit right in that little U there. For pieces that are symmetrical like that, attach it in the centermost point first. It's just the best way to do it. That way you're going to be even on both sides when you go to do the rest. Otherwise, if you stick it to one side and you try and marry it, you'll oftentimes end up with gaps that you just do not want, and it will drive you nuts. If you're anything like me, not having that symmetry will make you nuts. Okay. And again, I've got it raised up there. You can see that there. Contact. Blended. Boom. In. Then just build right on up along as you go. So a little bit. The next seam. Squeeze it right on in. There it is. This stuff goes quick. So it's okay if it bubbles out of the seam a little bit because you're going to go and smooth that out anyway. So don't worry that it's kind of coming out of that crease. So you can see it right there. It's coming out a little bit. I know what that's merged in. My little smoother. Smoothing it right on out. If you absolutely can't stand any little gap, come back through on the top with your hot glue. After this is dried, you can fill in any little gap that's there. So just moving right along, right up the side here. I just stuck my finger to it. Get to pick that off tomorrow, so that'll be awesome. But I do love working with Loctite. I tried it on a whim the first time, and it worked out way better than I thought. It does create a chemical reaction with the EVA foam, so if you use a lot in some areas, you may see it smoke briefly. Just be conscious because you don't want to breathe those fumes in. So, not that I think you need to wear a respirator while doing this, but have it as an option because, you know, God knows you don't want to be killing brain cells huffing super glue fumes. Okay, I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side now. Like I said, started in the middle because it's way easier to kind of manhandle this piece into place if you start in the most even point of the entire thing. Right dead in the center. So there we go. Attach, and you'll get good at using your fingers like two sets of hands holding pieces together like this while you either smooth out an area or reinforce it. So there we go, attached all around. Next little section, here we go. Not a whole lot, just enough. And a bottle of this Loctite super glue goes a long, long way. If you don't go crazy on it, you will get a ton of bang for your buck with Loctite. So there we go, smoothing it down. Here it is. Front piece put together. Now we got to add the top here. So the top here is curved. You can see that right there, because that's where the top upper portion of the bicep is. So we're going to curve that as well. So back again with our heat gun. Top of wood here, the whole thing. This one I'm going to fold in on itself a little bit and then curve it. So fold it in first so you've got that lip over the top. Put both thumbs behind it and push in and pull down with your fingers. So it's kind of like this here again. And I know it will be hot, so use your better judgment. If you want to wear gloves with this, wear some gloves. If you think you can handle the heat, then dive on in like I do. Because it's such a small piece and I had so much heat applied directly to it, it's going to take form a lot quicker. And you'll even see little dimple marks on the back where your thumbs were pressing in. Because it's so hot all at once. Okay. Boom. There we go. Top part of the bicep. Formed just the way I want it to be. Okay. Now this, again, fits right into a slot. Now for this particular one here, because you can see there is a slight gap, right where the middle is there. It's not going to go fully in. I will attach it where that little corner edge is. I'll attach it right to that corner, and then I'll pull it across to that one, and then push out from the back side so that when it makes contact with the front here, it pulls the entire shape in, and it will make that round front like you want. So as you build more and more and more, you'll start to gauge your own material, and it will make more sense to you as to why you do certain things, and it will start to become second nature, where you'll look at a piece and go, oh, okay, shoot, yeah, that totally makes sense as to why I do that. So, you can see right here, doing that corner right there first. You can see it a little better here. There we go. I probably said it a million times, does not take much glue and does not take very long at all to do that. Smooth out the excess. This foam is porous, so it'll soak it right on up. That's good enough to secure over here now. I'm telling you, once you use Loctite, you're not going back to using straight hot glue anymore. You will use Loctite for the rest of your life, or however long you feel like cosplaying. Smooth that on in there. Boom, 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 boom. There it is. You see, I have that little gap there now. It looks like a little Muppet mouth. You can maybe close it. No, I can't. Okay. Anyway, now I'm going to force that inside there, but in doing so, it's going to make the rest of the shape take on the roundedness that I want it to. So even you can pinch in a little bit and then squish in there. So get my glue right on the front here. Little dabs, little line of it. Boom, there it is. And for those of you, if this is your first time trying to build anything with EVA, do not feel bad if you chatter up your edges. Do not feel bad if it doesn't look exactly the way you wanted it to, because it's your first one. Be happy that you did it. And if anybody's going to question you on it, you just place the gauntlet right firmly in their lap and say, okay, well then why don't you do it better? It takes just a second to be rude and complain about something, but it's going to take you a little while to get good at it. So enjoy the process and love the learning of it. Okay, now on the inside here, you can see I've got 2 layers there. What I do is I cut a piece that is just slightly smaller than this, and I'm going to bend it inwards and glue it right in the center, and then lay it down real tight so it keeps that curve nice and tight. And it holds better on your upper portion of your bicep there. So it doesn't need to be a big little piece. I'm going to cut maybe about that much right there. We'll slice it. I'll check and see, make sure it's going to fit in here nicely. So that little piece right there will fit perfect in there. So that'll be good. And that will help to curve the rest of the piece. So put the glue directly on, actually put it on the inside here, because then you can cup it. You won't get it on your fingers. So a little bit right inside there. And then bend this piece up like that. Stick this in right in the center. So bend it and then bend the bicep around it. That way when the flex comes off, it'll hold that curved shape a lot better. And it's already made contact, which is awesome. So let's see here. Show you what I'm talking about here. See, look at that. See how the curve is even more now? It's more the shape that I want it to be. And it's got that slight bend to the back, which is just what I want. Looking just like this one already. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm working with different thicknesses, so I took some little, I guess 3/16 pieces of foam here that I'm going to use for my accents that are going to end up going on either side right here like that. So these go on real easy. A little dab here, a little dab there. There we go. For any of you that are wicked excited and are still playing the Halo 5 Guardians multiplayer, we got Firefight coming out this month, which I'm stoked for. I know Halo 5 hasn't been getting the most love, but I'm a diehard to the day I die. Hard. I know it's a bad joke. Forgive me, it's been months. Okay. And a little bit there. Okay. Those went on real easy. There we go. Taking shape even more. Little things like that. Little itty bitty things like that make the piece. Okay. Now I need my top little details here. My two top little spots where the bicep meet. Where the top of the bicep meets. So I've cut little pieces here. Little thin little sections. I've got 2 for each. So I know which one's going where. The taller one will go on the bottom, the littler one on top. Now in this case, I will apply the glue directly to this piece here in kind of a zigzag pattern. First I do the perimeter, a little bead along the perimeter, all the way around it, little zigzag in the middle. Because mainly you want the perimeter to stick down. And then, hold her on up and slap it down. Just like that. Smooth it right on in. And foamies, they attach really, really quickly, so that sucker's already in there. I can go right on to the next one. And the next one, I'm going to push up to the very top of the bicep here. I'll push all the way up there. That way I've got about 1/8 of an inch gap in between. And just that little gap, it adds a lot more character too. Like, for whatever reason, recessed areas and gaps wherever you can make them along the armor, if it makes sense, they add a lot of character. A lot of character that, like, it may go overlooked, but you know it's there and you know it looks awesome. So, I cosplay for me and nobody else, and I do apologize, guys, that I haven't opened up for any commissions or anything as of late. Truth is, I love doing this for myself, but I love teaching people how to do it. So, in all honesty, you'll probably never see me open up the commissions on my channel here. I may throw something up from time to time on Etsy, and if I do, I will let you guys know. But as for commissions and custom orders, not gonna happen, I'm sorry. Okay, so now we have the last 2 little sections going on here. We're gonna put this bottom red little piece there, and then that little nubbin right there. So, a little bit of heat on here. And because this one's so thin, it's not going to take a whole lot to bend this. You can bend that sucker real quick. But again, I will do more of an extreme bend than I need to, because I want that curve to have that kinetic tension to it. That is going to help it take the shape better. So, okay. There we go. Just like that. That's as far as I want it to be. This bad boy, you can see how it's going to go on there. It'll have a little gap on both sides. Again, I'm going to put it right in the middle, and I'm going to recess it just back a little bit off that very center part of the EVA, so it's got some a little step up there. Give it a real sweet look. There we go. And for those of you who are going, but Eric, you said you were going to do a Mark 6 from Halo 3 tutorial for EVA. Don't worry, that one's coming next. So once I finish off the Mark 6 from Halo 4, I will be doing the Mark 6 from Halo 3 as well, because in all honesty, the Mark 6 from Halo 3 is my favorite suit. It just has such a fierce and such a mean look to it, and I love it. I love that the chest actually resembles like a man's chest, like the muscles of a chest. Even with the biceps and the legs, they resemble actual muscle. Yeah, it's just kind of a bulldogish look. It's like if you can imagine Kimbo Slice, God rest his soul, in a suit of armor. That's how I picture it. If any of you haven't heard, Kimbo passed away today, so I hope he made it upstairs. I hope he did. But not to bring down the room, sorry about that. Right, there we go. See, it's coming together right there. See that? Little things, little things that you can do make all the difference. Okay, next little section here. Blammo. You see me? Just pull it up a little bit, so I'm offset slightly, and stick it on down. Boom, there it is. Well, the fun part is that with this is you can now come back through when you're all done. Like before you plasti dip it, if you're going to distress your armor, I would distress it before you plasti dip it. Otherwise, you're going to have weird looking exposed sections of EVA after it's been like painted and after it's been plasti dipped, and it's not going to look very good. And one of the coolest ways to do the distressing on the armor is to actually take a hot knife. And when it comes time to distressing armor, I will show you how that works. Alright, but there we go. So there is one full side of the bicep. Now, oh, sorry, I forgot my last little nubbin piece. What am I doing? Losing my marbles here. All right, we'll try that again. Take two. Here we go. And that little nubby piece goes right down there on the very bottom portion there. So there we go. Again, here we go. Take two. So there you have it, guys. There's one full side of your bicep. So now the back of this is going to look exactly the same. You can see this right here. It is the same all the way around. Only thing to note here are these little windows. Okay, you see that right there? Those little windows go on the outside. So if this is going to be my right bicep, it'll go on this side. If it's going to be the left one, it's going to go on this side. You want those little windows right there facing out, and that's how you can tell which way you're going to put them on when you have them strapped together. Alright guys, thank you for staying with us. Apologize that we got the camera at this angle. I'm the only one helping myself film here. But that is it right there. That is start to finish. Well, not fully start to finish, but you get what I mean. That is the Rachel Ray baking instruction tutorial of how you're going to put together your Halo 4 Mark 6 biceps. Thanks for checking in again today, guys. Stay positive, stay safe, have fun with this. We'll see you next time.